overnight. Near 80 for Saturday, slight chance of rain, and then some sun, some clouds Sunday. 70% chance we may get wet on Monday. We're sitting 74, Humboldt 78 here at the University of Houston.
Support comes from Specs Wine, Spirits, and Finer Foods. Texas family owned and operated since 1962. Offering wine, spirits, and gourmet bites, including whiskey pecan pie for the Thanksgiving holiday. SpecsOnline.com. The fun starts here.
10 headed out. Mercury reports of an accident. Watch for that if you're trying to get out of town. It's KUHF Houston News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston. Listen live anywhere at houstonpublicmedia.org. Download our app as well. News updated 24/7. It's 9 o'clock.
A new study reveals some troubling numbers surrounding the cost of health care for Texans once Affordable Care Act subsidies expire. I'm Craig Cohen. Today on Houston Matters, we learn more from the Episcopal Health Foundation's Dr. Ann Barnes.
Houston Matters with Craig Cohen is a production of Houston Public Media with support from Baylor College of Medicine.
Also this hour, just in time for Thanksgiving week travel, we welcome your questions about traffic laws for the Texas Department of Public Safety. Send your questions about the rules of the road now to talk@houstonmatters.org. Then from a stretch of Westheimer Road leading a dubious list to Mattress Mack the movie, we contemplate intrigues in the news on this week's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. We'll start with a news update from NPR and News 88.7. Stay with us.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. Russia says it has yet to see an official copy of a new U.S.-backed peace plan for Ukraine. A draft proposal of the deal, crafted by White House envoy Steve Witkoff and his Russian counterpart, publicly surfaced in a series of media leaks earlier this week. NPR's Charles Means has more from Moscow.
Amid an avalanche of media reports outlining a peace plan that critics argue skews in Russia's favor, Moscow has remained largely silent. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov acknowledged that while there had been contacts with the U.S., there was, quote, no process that could be called consultations on Ukraine. In fact, Peskov said Moscow had yet to receive an official copy of the U.S. proposal. Russian President Vladimir Putin has also said little about the most recent U.S. diplomatic push. Instead, the Kremlin released new footage of Putin visiting a military command post as his top brass claimed new Russian advances across the front line. Ukraine disputed that assessment. Charles Mains, NPR News, Moscow.
A federal judge in the U.S. says that she will soon rule on whether to order the release of the migrant Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He was mistakenly deported to El Salvador in March and then returned, but he's still in U.S. immigration custody as the U.S. government continues to try to deport him. Abrego Garcia has offered to go to Costa Rica, which earlier said it would accept him. But his lawyer, Simon Sandoval-Moschenberg, says the U.S. government keeps trying to send him to yet another African country.
The fundamental question of why the government is insisting on protracted legal battles to send Mr. Abrego Garcia across the Atlantic Ocean to now 4 different African countries, when there is a Central American country that has already offered him refugee status.
Abrego Garcia still faces human smuggling charges and a trial next year. He has denied the accusations. Stocks opened higher this morning on Wall Street at the end of a mostly down week on the markets. NPR's Scott Horsley reports the Dow Jones Industrial Average rose about 150 points in early trading.
Retail sales figures are one of many data points delayed by the 6-week government shutdown. Many individual retailers have been delivering financial reports this week. The results have been mixed, but a consistent theme is that shoppers are being cautious and hunting for bargains. Stock in Ross Stores and The Gap opened higher after both reported better than expected quarterly sales. With a double-digit tariff on goods from Japan, the U.S. imported less from that country in October, but Japanese firms made up for it with higher sales to the rest of the world. Japan's overall exports were up 3.7% from a year ago. Tokyo's Nikkei stock index fell overnight. Stocks were also down in Hong Kong, Shanghai, and Seoul. Scott Horsley, NPR News, Washington.
Stocks are now mixed on Wall Street. The Nasdaq is down by more than 30 points. You're listening to NPR News from Washington.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include MS Now, Home to The Rachel Maddow Show, Morning Joe, The Briefing with Jen Psaki, and more, MS Now is a source for news, opinion, and the world. Learn more at ms.now. This is NPR.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Matt Harrod. Multiple law enforcement agencies raided an after-hours bar last night in North Harris County, causing it to shut down. Deputies say Las Pontracas Bar and Hookah has been on their radar for a while for possible illegal alcohol sales, drug activity, and trafficking. The Harris County Sheriff's Office, Texas Alcoholic and Beverage Commission, and the Fire Marshal's Office conducted the raid. 4 people were detained, including 3 that had outstanding warrants. Authorities say the bar was open from 2 a.m. until 7 in the morning. The raid was part of a larger push by law enforcement to shut down bars and clubs that are causing problems within the communities that they're in. Earlier this week, a federal judge issued a blistering dissent after 2 other judges on the same panel blocked Texas's congressional redistricting map from taking effect next year. Our government reporter Andrew Schneider says the case that has major ramifications for whether Republicans retain control of the House and for the future of the Trump presidency.
U.S. Circuit Judge Jerry E. Smith lost in the 2-1 ruling. In a more than 100-page dissent, Smith wrote the big winners in the case are liberal activists and politicians. At South Texas College of Law Houston, Professor Josh Blackman says Smith argues his fellow judges displayed their own judicial activism.
It's unusual for a judge to talk about politics so much, but the basic claim is this is about politics. And under the controlling precedent of the circuit, gerrymandering is permissible for political reasons, even if not for racial reasons.
The U.S. Supreme Court is expected to weigh in. I'm Andrew Schneider, News 88.7.
And in sports, the Texans defense led them to their 3rd win in a row last night.
Meanwhile, Buffalo goes up-tempo, and Allen's going to get sacked again. And Allen steps up, look out, runs around again, down he goes again. Allen throws off his back foot, short, picked at the 9-yard line.
Al Michaels on the call via Amazon Prime last night. The Texans beat the Buffalo Bills 23-19. They get their 3rd win in a row. They had 8 sacks in the game and intercepted Bills quarterback Josh Allen twice. They get the win with their backup quarterback Davis Mills. Houston is still sitting just outside of the playoff picture as of right now. 78 degrees currently here on the UH campus. Look out for a thunderstorm later today. I'm Matt Harrod, News 88.7.
This is Houston Matters. I'm Craig Cohen. Good morning. Coming up this hour, we'll talk about, we have this week's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. We're also going to talk about the rules of the road, some of those things that maybe you're not so sure about. Are there scenarios when you're driving that you think maybe what everybody's doing is illegal and what I'm doing is legal? We'll get those questions answered for you. We've got you covered. So we look forward to chatting with you about that, and you can send your questions to talk@houstonmatters.org. A lot has been debated about the pandemic-era Obamacare subsidies, which, unless Congress acts, will expire at the end of the year. It was a big part of what led to the prolonged federal government shutdown. Well, Texas has the nation's highest rate of uninsured residents already, nearly 5 million, including more than 850,000 children. A new study projects that if those subsidies do expire, more than 1.4 million more Texans will join them, as premiums for those seeking to keep their health insurance coverage through the marketplace may double or even triple. That study comes from the Episcopal Health Foundation. Dr. Ann Barnes is its president and CEO. She joins us now. Dr. Barnes, good morning.
Good morning, Craig.
Your foundation funded a study from the Bush School of Government at Texas A&M University. This specifically looks at how higher healthcare costs will impact Texans, assuming those subsidies expire. What more can you tell us about what the study reveals?
Yeah, I think it's important to let people know that the enhanced subsidies really did change the landscape of who was insured in our state. So in 2021, there were about 1.2 million people who were taking advantage of the Affordable Care Act. And with the enhanced subsidies by 2025, it's almost 4 million Texans. So this has really been important to our state in terms of people having access to regular care, that's preventive services, that is management of chronic conditions, that is also being evaluated for social needs like food security, transportation needs, housing needs.
Assuming,
yes, go
I was
ahead.
going to say, assuming these subsidies expire, who is most likely then to, on top of what we've already seen, lose health insurance coverage altogether, and how come?
Yeah, so these are going to be individuals who are low income, not low enough to qualify for Medicaid or for children for CHIP. These are individuals who are low income, who have to make decisions every day about whether or not to pay rent, utilities, food, or health insurance coverage. And so when the subsidies go away, if they go away, these individuals are going to be in a really challenging spot, being not able to afford the health insurance that they have enjoyed over the last several years.
What are the potential ripple effects for those of us who are insured when there are suddenly so many more Texans who would not have health insurance anymore?
So when a lot of people in your community are uninsured, it means that organizations, health systems that take care of us are going to have increased demand for revenue. So they're going to lose a huge portion of what paid for their services, which means they may have to cut back on the things that they offer their clients. So we might lose access to some services that had previously been in place. The other thing that we expect to see is more people will avoid care by not being covered, and will end up with advanced conditions using the emergency room to receive care that care for illnesses that could have been prevented. When our health systems, our emergency rooms and our hospitals are full of individuals with advanced disease, that means that they are under strain and have less capacity to take care of the rest of us when we have needs.
But how is this any different from where we were pre-pandemic?
So I think one of the things that we will see with the loss is, again, an increase in chronic conditions that could have been well managed. As it relates to children being covered by Affordable Care Act plans, children who don't have access to regular pediatric care miss opportunities for preventive care. They also miss opportunities to have conditions, whether they're developmental or medical, identified early, where interventions can happen and prevent long-term negative outcomes. And if people, again, especially children, end up with chronic conditions that we used to see only in adults, we're going to have a sicker community, which is going to affect productivity and our economic status locally as well.
Why focus in particular on kids and families with this particular study?
Well, I think you know that the backbone of our community, Craig, is our family, and we want those to thrive. We want Houston to be a place that people want to come. We want Texas to be a place that people want to come. And so I think focusing on children and families is really the bedrock of our community and its well-being. And those are the folks we want to make sure have healthy, full lives.
We are in the middle of open enrollment right now. What should Texas families do differently this year as they navigate this potential change?
Yeah, I think it's really a hard time. We've been speaking about what will happen theoretically for a long time, but now as we enter into open enrollment, we are hearing from community partners that assist families in signing up for coverage that they're eligible for. We are seeing up to half of the people they are trying to assist make the decision not to get health insurance because it's just too expensive. And so I would say that folks should know that there are organizations out there that can help them look at their options and to be open to what's possible. But to be honest, there are going to be tougher choices that they're going to have to make because of the rise in cost and premiums for Texas families.
Ultimately, is there anything in this study that we didn't already know? Or is the goal here just to say, all right, now that this is happening, let's just be blunt about here are the numbers, here's how it's going to affect Texas?
I think it lets us see plainly that we need to expect a real shift in the number of people who have access to care. in the downstream effects of that, which means folks with preventable conditions being sick, and that there is going to be an increased strain on our healthcare system across the state and certainly here in Houston, that we will all feel the effects of.
Dr. Ann Barnes is the president and CEO of the Episcopal Health Foundation. Dr. Barnes, thank you.
Thank you, Craig.
Up next, just in time for Thanksgiving week travel, we welcome your questions about the rules of the road. Whatever you want to know about traffic laws, just ask at talk@houstonmatters.org, 713-440-8870, or you can also comment on our video stream on Houston Public Media's YouTube channel. Stay with us as Houston Matters continues.
Hi, I'm Lenny Ambrose from St. Arnold Brewing Company, proud supporters of Houston Public Media. Right now, with your $60 donation, you can choose tickets to News and Brews. This member-exclusive event takes place February 17th. Enjoy a pint, connect with fellow NPR fans, and meet the Houston Public Media newsroom in person. Select News and Brews tickets when you donate at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Baylor College of Medicine. With 125 years of innovation behind it, Baylor has driven progress in health and medicine through research, education, and care that push the frontiers of modern science.
Houston Matters with Craig Cohen is made possible in part by Ellen Benninghoven and Dr. Michael Schaefer, and with gifts from listeners like you.
This is Houston Matters. I'm Craig Cohen. The busiest travel time of the year is here. Many Houstonians will spend at least some of the next week navigating highways and byways, but how well do you really know the rules of the road? Are there scenarios when you're driving that you think what everybody else is doing is illegal, but, well, you're not really 100% sure? We've got you covered now as we welcome your questions about traffic laws that maybe you're a little fuzzy about, or laws you'd swear the guy in the next lane's breaking. Joining us with answers is Sergeant Stephen Woodard with the Texas Department of Public Safety. Sergeant Woodard, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. You know, it's interesting. You mentioned rules of the road. Sometimes, we have people driving around like there's no rules at all. And
True.
I'm glad, speaking of Thanksgiving, I'm thankful, obviously, for you guys bringing me on and also educating the community. Because look, obviously, with programs like yours and others across the state, I mean, if you don't get it from the horse's mouth, everybody just speculating and guessing. So I appreciate you. And in the light of Thanksgiving, I truly thank you.
All right. Well, in that spirit, as we chat, here's your opportunity. Call or text your questions now to 713-440-8870. Email talk@houstonmatters.org. Again, you can post questions in the comment section of our video stream on Houston Public Media's YouTube channel. Well, let's start, though, with what are the most common traffic violations that you tend to see during the holidays?
Well, that's interesting. I was sitting just basically thinking about just some contributing factors to some crashes. I'll tell you, unfortunately, speed is still the number one contributing factor to a lot of our crashes here within the state of Texas. Folks are just not slowing down. Look, the black and white sign simply prescribes a speed, and that speed is designed for you to travel from point A and point B and back to A safely. Look, we still have people not buckling up for whatever reason. A seatbelt is the only safety feature in the vehicle that's going to save your life in the event of a crash or in the event that you get hit by a drunk driver. Speaking of drunk drivers, we still have an influx of individuals that are taking the unfortunate choice of driving while impaired. Did you know that Harris County leads the nation in DWI fatalities still to this day? So we're constantly on the battle of trying to reduce that. Whether you believe this or not, we haven't had a deathless day here in the state of Texas since November the 7th, 2000. That's the last time we had a deathless day right here in the state to which we live in. So we're trying to reach that zero goal of not having on average of 9 fatalities a day here in the state and making that travel safe.
All right, let's dive into some specific questions here. Glenn's in Cyprus and asks, what is the official law regarding when headlights need to be turned on? I have noticed more drivers, Glenn says, without headlights at night or with daytime running lights and no taillights.
Yeah, good question. So I just ran into somebody with that problem on yesterday. So the state law says that your headlamps need to be turned on in the nighttime provision. So that's right. That's 30 minutes, actually, 30 minutes right before whatever that sunset period is. We know that headlights are just more than a safety feature for nighttime hours, but they're also a huge safety feature for fog and rain. So look, if you have daytime running lamps, great. If you don't and you have to manually turn them on, anytime that you see that sun starting to creep down, get your headlamps on because it provides illumination to the roadway. It allows everybody else to see you, and you won't be in violation of the law.
How about when should you have your brights on and when should you not? In particular during fog.
Lights. Yeah, the old bright lights. So state law tells us clear that you can activate your bright lights, but you need to dim those bright lights when you come within a head-on situation with a vehicle that's within 500 feet of you, head-on, or within 300 feet to the rear of you. They need to dim back to the regular lighting provision. Now in Houston, I'm telling you, you're always going to be within 500 to 300 feet of somebody while driving on the road. So really, there's really going to be a very minimal time that you can have those headlamps on within a metropolitan area. But state law gives a distance of 500 feet when meeting someone, and coming from the rear 300 feet, you have to dim them back to the regular setting.
What does the law say about lights during fog?
You know, again, bright lights are still in effect when it comes to the 500 and 300. Again, it does help you, but we also have to think about the comfortability of the driver that you're meeting or that you're driving behind.
All right, let's take a call. Kyle's on the line in Spring. Kyle, what's your question?
Hi, thanks for taking my call. My question is this. It's a situation I've been in often. I'm driving along, and a sign comes along that says this lane closes in a mile or half a mile. And you have two kinds of people. You either get over right away at the earliest opportunity, or you zipper in at the very end when the lane is ending. And so if I'm one of those people that zippers at the end, I can feel that people are trying to prevent me from getting in. Or if I get over as soon as possible, then I get the feeling that the people zippering in at the end are kind of cheating in a way. So what's the official word on that?
Man, you did a lot, especially zippering in, zippering out, and all that good stuff. Look, we can really dissect that, but I will tell you, anytime you're changing lanes or merging into a lane, what's the best way we can communicate with someone? And I'm not talking about the old one finger communication trick. We know what I'm talking about. But the best way we can communicate with someone is with our signals. So if you're merging into a lane, or if there's going to be a lane change, just make sure that you activate that actual signal and change that lane safely. You know, we can truly dissect that, but I'm trying to get a mental picture because it's so many different lanes like that. If you're changing a lane or it's getting ready to merge, make sure you got your signals on, warning that actual individual that's in the lane that you're merging into. Because, again, it's all about getting from point A to point B safely.
All right. Well, let me key in on this, though. Do our traffic laws offer any particular guidance on whether or not you should drive up to the merge point and move in then with your signals, or center your car in a merging lane, or merge earlier? Is there anything in the laws themselves that says this is how you have to do it?
Well, I will tell you, at the end of the day, it is up to you, that's you and I and everyone else listening, to make sure that that movement of the vehicle is done safely. And if you're already in that dedicated lane, obviously that is your lane. But the person that's merging in, he is now getting access to the party. So he needs to be especially careful when merging into that lane. Because again, we don't want to turn when unsafe situation happen. Now we have two vehicles stuck on the side of the road because someone did not take the opportunity to basically calm down or use some of that patience, if you will, while traveling on the road.
So the law doesn't say one way or the other about precisely when you merge. It's all about you have to do so safely with your signal, and the person who's already in the lane, they have the right of way.
Yeah, and again, I really would like to look at that particular road that he's talking about because all those roadways are different. And, when we talk about merging, I really like to look at what road he's talking about. And, I mean, those roadway makeups, I mean, if you go to the Texas Manual for Traffic Control Devices, you're talking about a 900-plus page book that has all the roadway makeups throughout the state. And I would have to thumb through that and really look at that particular road that he's talking about, and I can get an exact answer on that one.
All right. Chang writes, I'm always confused if the second to right lane turns right on red, especially if the second to right is both a straight or turn lane versus the right turn only lane.
Yeah. Yeah, so in those right turn lanes, if there's a sign that clearly says no right turn, then obviously no right turn. But if you're in a right turn, lane, let's say there's two designated lanes designated for right turns. Well, guess what? Both lanes can turn right on red. Now, here's the problem. Generally, that individual that's all the way to the right, what generally happens is he says, you know what, dang gummit, I want to keep straight because the convenience store is straight ahead. Well, next thing you know, my friend to the left of him, he makes his legal right turn on red, and next thing you know, he gets T-boned on his passenger side. So again, the movement has to be done safely, but both vehicles can turn right on red if there's no sign that's designated no right turn on red.
We got to go back to merging because Ernest has an interesting question. He says,
hey, Ernest.
On a freeway or highway, all going in the same direction, you have three lanes and two cars are trying to merge into the center lane. One is merging from the left lane, the other's merging from the right lane. Which of the two has the right of way?
I tell you what, that happens a lot, especially on US 59, and I can name a couple of others, but we'll just break it down and use a 3-lane roadway. One lane, you got a vehicle in the left lane, a vehicle in the far right lane, and guess what? That golden spot is the center lane. We're all trying to get to that center lane. Well, the vehicle in the left lane has the right of way. That individual has the right of way. That individual has the right of way. One more time. That individual has the right of way to get into that center lane. But that doesn't happen. And again, we all have to share the road and make sure that those movements are done safely. But the right of way is going to be to the vehicle in the far left lane.
Robin is in Rocheron. What's your question?
Yes, if I come to an intersection that is a one-way, am I allowed to turn left on red?
Hey, Robin, Rocheron, boy, Brazoria County, where the people always are smiling and the mosquitoes are as big as birds. First of all,
Yes,
how's
sir.
things going in Brazoria County? First of all, answer your question.
It is a lovely cloudy day today.
Yeah, that's it. Very good. So you're coming up to an intersection and you want to make a left turn. You want to know if you can make a left turn on red.
Yes, sir.
Is it sign saying no left turn?
It does not.
Okay, if the movement can be done safely and you can make that safe turn, and if it's red, which is very, very, very minimal in that county, because normally, like you talk about Pearland, Manville, and all those areas, at those intersections, those right turn lights, those left turn lights are in left turn lanes. So I would have to actually look and see what the makeup of the road is. But I will tell you, you talk about roads like in Houston, there's some signs downtown that say no left turn on red. So it just depends on the makeup of the road. If it gives you a clearly marked sign saying no left turn on red, or it has a no left turn signal arrow, then there's no left turn. Can you tell me the exact area?
Yes, it's at Beltway 8 and Fort Bend County Toll Road.
Beltway 8 and Fort Bend County Toll Road. Still trying to compute. I'm trying to think. And that's a multiple lane intersection, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I would probably, I would have to look at that, but I would probably be safe to say that there's no left turn on red or that intersection, but I have to look at it.
All right, thanks very much for that call. Steve asks, what are the rules regarding motorcycles splitting lanes and driving between vehicles?
Hey, Steve, how you doing? And happy Thanksgiving to you, Steve. So I tell you, we're still seeing this. It is a violation of the law. You know, in the 2023 legislation, they actually put on the books, in the law books, lane splitting. It's a violation. It's a violation for a motorcycle to lane split. But let's go beyond the violation. It's dangerous. You are literally taking a chance when you're lane splitting. What you're doing is you're hoping that the driver in that Ford F-350 or that individual in that regular sedan is going to stay in their lane and is not going to merge over. That's what you're hoping. You're taking a chance. To answer the question, it is a violation of the law, but I want to go well beyond the law book and talk about the preservation of life. You're taking a chance, and I'm telling you, a lot of our motorcycle fatalities and crashes, they stem from individuals not traveling properly on the roadway as we're talking about this lane splitting. Next thing you know, we got an individual in the hospital, or they meet a fatal demise because of the lane splitting. It's a violation. Don't do it.
Stephen Woodard is a sergeant with the Texas Department of Public Safety. Sergeant Woodard, happy Thanksgiving. Thanks very much.
Happy Thanksgiving. I appreciate everything you guys are doing for the community.
And just ahead, from Westheimer topping an article's list of the deadliest roads in America to an impending court case in Australia over a Vegemite ban in prison there, to Mattress Mack, the movie. We discuss intriguing developments in the week's news with today's non-expert panel on the good, the bad, and the ugly as Houston Matters continues.
You count on Houston Public Media. That's why you're here right now. Take the next step and become a new member today. Every gift makes a difference. And with a gift of $5 a month or more, you'll receive PBS Passport, a member benefit that lets you stream more of the shows you love anytime. It only takes a minute to make a big difference. Join as a new member today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 800-364-8300.
Support comes from Specs Wine, Spirits, and Finer Foods, Texas family-owned and operated since 1962, offering wine, spirits, and gourmet bites, including whiskey pecan pie for the Thanksgiving holiday. SpecsOnline.com. The fun starts here. Tonight on Houston Public Media TV 8, it's the final chapter of Ken Burns' series, The American Revolution. Washington wins the decisive victory at Yorktown, and independence is secured. Tonight at 7 on TV 8.
A lot can happen in a week, some of it good, some of it bad, some of it downright ugly. When faced with intriguing developments in the week's news, we turn to a rotating panel of non-experts to parse the good, the bad, and the ugly of it all. On today's panel, Jessica Brown, co-director of Station Theater, Marcus Davis, owner of the Breakfast Club restaurant, and Vivian Ho, health economist at Rice University and Baylor College of Medicine. Jessica, Marcus, Vivian, welcome to Houston Matters. Good morning.
Thank you. Hi, Craig. Thank you.
Panel, the Washington Post this week published an article examining what it calls the deadliest roads in America. And you know where this is going, right? Houston's own Westheimer Road was at the top of the Post's list of roads with the most pedestrian deaths between 2021 and 2023. 19 pedestrians died along the 3.5-mile stretch of Westheimer in those 3 years. But it's not just Westheimer. A 2.4-mile stretch of FM 1960 was fourth on the Post's list with 11 pedestrian deaths in the same time frame. There are, of course, plenty of other examples all across America. The paper's analysis of federal data and other public records finds that between 2010 and 2023, yearly deaths caused by cars and trucks striking pedestrians rose 70% nationwide. Pedestrian deaths are up in the U.S., and Houston roadways are among the deadliest. Do I have to ask, is this good, bad, or ugly, Jessica?
It's definitely ugly anytime there's loss of life. Those areas are so challenging, as we were talking about a little bit earlier. There's so much so many apartment complexes and, larger multifamily places around both of those areas that it's difficult for having pedestrians walking around, but also there's so much traffic on those roads. And how much are we paying attention as drivers anymore? Being distracted by text messages and even just trying to get where you're going. So it's never a good thing. This is definitely not the list that we want to be on.
Okay, good, bad, or ugly. Marcus Davis.
Yeah, this is atrociously ugly. Can we do that?
Sure. I agree.
I would have to say that driving down Westheimer inside of a vehicle, there are times that I am intimidated by the traffic around. I cannot imagine trying to cross the street from one side to the other. I don't know. It's like 4 or 5 lanes on each side, and it's chaotic. I'm hopeful that city leadership will take notice of this, not just in Houston, but across the country, since this seems to be a rising issue in the country. But, as Houstonians, we want a safe city. I know we have a mayor that's big on public safety, and I'm certain that this will be brought to his attention, and hopefully that something will be done about it. I don't have the answer, obviously. I'm not a traffic expert. But I will comment on something she said, which is, as drivers, we have to be more sensitive, more aware of pedestrians. Yes, there are the distractions of the telephone and, got to finish this text and things of that nature. We just need to be more aware, and we have to be more sensitive. Even in my area, most recently, my work family was impacted by one of our colleagues being hit walking to work, and it's just a sense. Just yesterday, I had to point out to a driver that, hey, the little white guy told me I can go. The little sign said it's my turn. And they were just unaware and more interested in getting through that light versus patience for a pedestrian. Oh, that's the tagline: patience for pedestrians.
That's it.
You heard it here first.
Well, another piece in this is just also that, like, our brains, as we drive, we are anticipating seeing other cars and trucks on the road. Right. We are not anticipating seeing bicycles, pedestrians, even motorcycles, because they are more of an exception to the rule than the rule.
Yeah, and as a person who both rides a bike and a motorcycle, I have encountered this where it's just kind of like bogarting the road and thinking that others aren't entitled to that space, and we're all entitled to that space: the pedestrian, the bicycle, the motorcycle, and the car.
Okay, good, bad, or ugly, Vivian.
Oh, well, I'm going to, of course, agree with Jessica and Marcus on this. It's bugly, bad and ugly, and just noting that we have a mayor who's actually reducing bicycle paths and protective barriers, so that is problematic. Okay, so just being a complete non-expert on this issue, when I arrived in Houston 20 years ago, if there was a red light that went out, there were police officers that showed up and took care of the traffic and told everyone where to go. And there were many more officers on the street monitoring traffic. We don't have that now. And I think that's why people are not driving as safely. The Washington Post article was very thorough. It mentioned other issues like the vehicles are getting larger. But, I'm encountering my own problems driving with irresponsible people, and there is not a police officer to be seen. I would like to pay more taxes so that we have more officers monitoring the streets, because otherwise our car insurance is skyrocketing because of all these accidents that are occurring. So you're going to pay one way or another. I think we can tax high-income people. We don't need to tax everybody, but if we want to have a nicer city, we have to pay for it.
Yeah, I think there's a department, the mobility department. I think there's an area, I can't tell you exactly what their responsibilities are, but I could see this falling into that type of scenario versus a police officer scenario. And I agree with you. The light on my corner at Travis in Alabama went out recently. It was out for a couple of days, and car drivers were left to fend for themselves. And your previous segment had the the officer reiterating some things that, and you pull up one of these lights and it's not working, and you're thinking, hey guys, we all took this class when we were 16 years old that told us how this is supposed to work. But that sometimes gets confusing, or sometimes goes out of the window.
Yeah. Well, also remember, I mean, that was a class you took when you were 16, and I don't know about you, but in my case, that was 4 or 5 years ago now.
Right. That's been a little bit of time. Another thought that I had too is any folks that have any sort of mobility impairments as well. It takes them much longer to get across the street too, so that would be another difficulty.
Panel coming soon, maybe to a theater near you. Mattress Mack the movie. Yes, really. According to Deadline, a feature film based on the life of Houston's own Jim McIngvale is in the works, with actor Billy Magnuson portraying the retail furniture store owner. Diana Agron and Rob Corddry are also part of the cast. Production begins this month. The project's directed by Houston native Shane Andreas, who's among the producers and also wrote the screenplay. The film will follow McIngvale through the opening of Gallery Furniture and through family challenges, including his daughter's battles with obsessive-compulsive disorder. I give you Mattress Mack the movie. Is this good, bad, or ugly, Marcus?
I thought you were going to start with the theater expert.
No, we'll save that for the end.
So, look, good, bad, or ugly is yet to be seen. It depends on what the movie is like when it comes out. I will tell you, I'm anxious as an entrepreneur. I followed the career of Mattress Mack. I recall when I was a kid. This is how far back I go in Houston, dating myself, when they had Mid-South Wrestling at the Sam Houston Coliseum. And there was this rickety stage that was constructed of, 2x4s. And Mac was still doing that save you money, jumping up in the air. And he was a lot younger then, so he could jump a lot higher. And you could just hear the boards squeaking as he landed. And this was in the 70s. So he's obviously a historic figure in the city of Houston. He's done some things from a business standpoint that have been, recognized nationally. And so I'm anxious to see how this works. Now, I will tell you, I will protest this movie if it does not include the great scene of him cussing out the fans in the baseball season, and that led us to a World Series victory.
Okay.
It has to include
good, bad, or ugly, Vivian.
I think it's good. This is a gentleman who's done a lot of good in difficult times for people in Houston, and he's been a great supporter of mental health. So let's see the movie, see how it turns out. I want to see the Marcus Davis movie.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
I wonder what the rating would be. Anyway, good, bad, or ugly, Jessica.
I agree with both Vivian and Marcus. I think that everything remains to be seen. It depends on how everything turns out. I agree with everything that's been said so far. But I think that one thing that we can agree on is that no matter what, it's going to be a sleeper hit.
Oh, man.
Yay!
Yeah.
That was exactly
you got the response you wanted from me. Yeah.
That took me a while.
Panel, prisoners complaining about the food they're served is nothing new, but one in Australia is suing over what he's not eating. Andre McKechnie, who is serving a life sentence, is calling for the Supreme Court of Victoria to end a nearly 20-year-long ban on serving inmates Vegemite. McKechnie argues in a lawsuit released to the Associated Press Tuesday that withholding the salty, sticky brown, yeast-based spread breaches his human right to, quote, enjoy his culture as an Australian. The country's Charter of Human Rights and Responsibilities Act offers protections for cultural, religious, racial, or linguistic background. While it's not clear if eating Vegemite is quite what the act had in mind, many Australians do love it. It's estimated 4 out of every 5 Australian households have a jar at home. Victoria's Department of Justice and Community Safety banned Vegemite from prisons in 2006. Apparently, its odor distracts drug-sniffing dogs. In their efforts, it's also considered contraband because it contains yeast, and some believe it could be used to produce alcohol. Its manufacturer denies that. McKechnie's case against Victoria's Department of Justice and Community Safety is scheduled to go to trial next year. An Australian prisoner claims cultural discrimination because the prison will not serve Vegemite. Is this good, bad, or ugly, Vivian?
Oh, it's a funny story, but it is, for the reasons you said, it is bad. I spent a couple years down in Australia after college, and I've tried the stuff. It's dreadful. But, the fact that it actually distracts for the dogs who are looking for contraband material, and it's It's just such a ridiculous request compared to sort of other things you could be trying to do in terms of prison that I have to say it's bad.
Okay, good, bad, or ugly, Jessica.
I'm not even sure how to answer this one. I think that it's the same thing. I'm not. Number one, I feel like I've learned more about Vegemite than I knew at all, just based on this one article. I find that
the Men at Work song
very,
didn't fill
no,
it in
that's
for
of
you?
course going through my head even right now. But that was the man from Brussels with the muscles. So, I was just surprised at this one, and I agree with the idea of the drug sniffing dogs. Who knew? I mean, that's fascinating to me, but I mean, is it something that is violating someone's rights truly, though, or are there better things we could spend our time on?
Good, bad, or ugly, Marcus?
Yet to be seen. I am, taken aback by the fact that amongst the four of us, Vivian is the only one that has actually tasted this, so she can speak.
Oh, I've tasted it. It's terrible.
Oh, you've tasted it?
It's horrible.
Oh, okay. Now, I have to say, the idea that it distracts dogs sniffing contraband is interesting. It's intriguing. It makes you think, should I even be eating this?
Yes.
Or should I be eating this? It begs the question.
I guess it's not going to end up on the Breakfast Club menu anytime soon.
No, you won't. Vegemite is not coming to a TBK near you. I will say this though, in terms of time, from my understanding, this guy is going to be in prison for quite some time. So he's using his time the best he can.
All right. And speaking of time, we're out of it. Jessica Brown's co-director of Station Theater. Marcus Davis owns the Breakfast Club restaurant. Vivian Ho is a health economist at Rice University and Baylor College of Medicine. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you, Craig.
It's not just your car. It's the one that brought your kids home from school, took you cross-country, held memories, laughter, even a few breakdowns. When it's time to let go, give your car a new purpose. Donate it and turn memories into meaningful support for this station. Plus, you'll enjoy free and easy pickup, potential tax benefits, and a simple donation process. Your gift supports the programs you and your family love. Donate today and help keep public media strong. Call or donate online.
Saturday evening at 7 on News 88.
Support comes from Texas Mutual Insurance Company, a workers' compensation provider dedicated to supporting the state's businesses through safety-focused policyholder plans and annual programs. More at texasmutual.com/TXM Advantage.
From Metro, introducing Metro Downtown Direct, helping riders get home for the holidays with nonstop service between downtown and Bush Intercontinental Airport. Details right metro.org/500.
Clint Hill served 5 U.S. presidents as a member of the U.S. Secret Service. He was protecting then First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy and with the presidential motorcade when President John F. Kennedy was shot and killed in Dallas 62 years ago Saturday. In fact, Hill was the agent who famously leapt forward and into the presidential limousine moments after Kennedy was shot in order to cover the First Lady as the car sped off to Parkland Hospital. Hill, who died earlier this year, also served Texan Lyndon Johnson, as well as fellow presidents Eisenhower, Nixon, and Ford. In 2016, he co-authored a book with journalist Lisa McCubbin called 5 Presidents. I spoke with the pair during a Houston visit that year and first asked Hill about his recollections of being in the Bayou City on this date, November 21st, 1963, the day before President Kennedy was killed.
Well, we came into Houston from San Antonio, where we had arrived earlier in the day, and we had a motorcade down to the Rice Hotel. And then there was a function within the Rice Hotel. It was a function for a Hispanic group. And during that meeting in that group, why Mrs. Kennedy spoke to them in Spanish. And it went over very, very well. The president was very pleased. And then after that function, we went on out to, I think it was the Coliseum, where they had I guess it was a fundraiser and a thank you party for Congressman Thomas from Houston, who had really brought the Space Center to Houston. And it was quite an event.
we think back on moments in history that are locked in our brains, like the assassination of President Kennedy, and there's this tendency to want to raise all the events that lead up to that event, sort of raise the importance, the significance, the idea that, oh, there are signs, there are elements, there's something leading up to this big event. But of course, history just happens as it happens. As you think back on it now with 50 years of perspective, was there anything about that trip to Houston, anything about the night before, the day of, leading up to the assassination that was unusual?
Well, probably the most unusual thing was the way that President and Mrs. Kennedy were received in Texas. There was concern that they would not be well received, but it was just the opposite. In every place that we went, San Antonio, Houston, Fort Worth, and Dallas, the crowds were extremely large, very exuberant, and very friendly. And so that in itself was a big surprise.
Did that in any way change anybody's attitudes, either among the Secret Service detail or the President, the First Lady, or anyone else along with them about how the trip was going?
Well, I think it changed the attitude of President and Mrs. Kennedy and their political staff, indicating that this was much more beneficial to them than they had anticipated. Insofar as the Secret Service is concerned, none of those things change our perspective of how we're going to do our job.
Lisa, you've collaborated with Clint before on memoirs about his time in the Secret Service. What's the process like of writing a memoir with someone whose job is predicated in large measure on maintaining a certain amount of secrecy? It's the secret part of the Secret Service. I mean, are there moments where, well, there's a story to be told, but no, there's not a story to be told here? You know what I mean?
Clint is, he's very discreet. He knows where the line is, and he just doesn't cross it. Believe me, I've tried to. I've spent so much time with him, and there's a lot of information I would like him to go deeper on, and he just won't. And I respect him for that. And initially when we were writing our first book together, Mrs. Kennedy and Me, people said, "Oh, you can't have a great book without all the scandal or gossip." Well, there's none of that in our book, and we've been applauded for the respectful way in which we tell this wonderful story. It doesn't need any salaciousness. The stories that he has are history, and you don't need to go down any of those paths that cross that line that Secret Service agents should not cross.
How much do you feel there is left to tell now that you're into the third memoir?
I think we've pretty much covered his story, don't you think, Clint?
Well, yeah, I think that this last book, Five Presidents, covers really the period from 1958 to 1975 pretty well. So I think that'll probably be the end of my book writing career.
Clint, let's talk about the president that you served who was from Texas, Lyndon Johnson. What was he like in more private moments? I know there, again, some lines you're not going to cross, but what can you tell us about what it was like interacting with him away from the public eye to some degree?
Well, the one thing that really always stood out about him was that he loved his area down here in Texas around the LBJ Ranch. I mean, that's where he was more comfortable than any place else, and he loved to be and spend time down here. He had good friends in that area, and he would bring heads of state, members of Congress, members of the cabinet out to the ranch because he wanted them to see where he came from and enjoy what he thought was a wonderful lifestyle. And so he was a very unpredictable man. He did a great many things on spur of the moment without giving us any advance warning, and so that made it more difficult. But we managed to cover him pretty well and get along with him very well. It was an enjoyable time for most of us.
There have been a number of biographical portraits of President Johnson over the years. Most recently, Bryan Cranston portrayed him on stage and on screen in All the Way. I don't know if you saw that.
Well, I saw it in New York City, and Bryan Cranston did a wonderful job.
So would you say his portrayal, other portrayals you've seen, largely have been accurate or respectful to the spirit of what President Johnson was like?
I'd say that the portrayal Bryan Cranston did was exceptionally accurate. I mean, at one point at the end, I turned to Lisa and told her, If I didn't know better, I'd swear to God that was Lyndon Johnson up there.
Wow. Yeah, well, he certainly vocally, physically captured him in many ways.
The mannerisms, everything about it was just right on spot. So he did a marvelous job.
How about let's talk a bit about the other presidents you served and how each was perhaps unique from your perspective.
Well, Eisenhower was unique in that he had been a military man all his life. And so when he came into the Oval Office, he brought that military bearing with him, which made it very easy for us to cover him because he was so easy to schedule. If we told him to be someplace we had to leave at 9:30 in the morning. At 9:29.30, he was in the car ready to go. He never hesitated to put him in any kind of a schedule because we knew he'd make it. He was just so prompt. He treated us more like troops and agents. If we wanted something from one of us, he didn't call us by name. He would simply say, "Hey, agent," and we would respond accordingly. We had a wonderful relationship with him. He was fun to be around in many instances because he loved to play golf, and the people he played golf with, like Arnold Palmer, made it interesting for the rest of us to be out there and observe this. And then he loved to fish for trout, hunt quail. He was a very wonderful guy to be around.
How about Nixon?
Well, now Nixon was kind of a different character. I knew him as vice president as well. But by the time he came into the presidency after the election of 1968, it seemed that he had changed somewhat. He had almost like a split personality. And one side of him was quite an introvert. He even established a separate office in the Executive Office Building for himself across the street from the White House. And rather than do business in the Oval Office oftentimes, he would be in that private office alone for hours at a time. And so that was somewhat different. He was like almost all politicians. He wanted to be out among them when he could, but he hated to have someone demonstrate against him, and oftentimes he would do things that would just make the situation even worse because he would exaggerate what was going on by his motions and his actions, and that made it difficult for the Secret Service to protect him.
I am curious how the expectations of the Secret Service, generally speaking, changed over the course of 5 presidencies.
Well, they change every time there's a new administration because of the different personality. Every one of those 5 gentlemen that I was around was different. They had different likes, different dislikes, approached problems in a different manner, had different kind of staffs. So the only one thing that they really had in common was a large ego. And that really, I think anybody who runs for the office of president has to have that. But they were all very, very different men, and we have to adjust in each of those situations to really be able to provide the type of security we want to, because our job is to create an environment in which the occupant of the office, no matter who it is, we don't care if they're a Democrat, Republican, independent, we don't care if it's a man or woman. What we care about is that we create a situation where they can function and perform the duties of the office that the people have elected them to do. That's our job.
That's Clint Hill. He and Lisa McCubbin are the co-authors of 5 Presidents, My Extraordinary Journey with Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, and Ford. Clint, Lisa, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I spoke with Hill and McCubbin in August of 2016. Hill died in February. He was 93. He and President Kennedy were in Houston on this date in 1963, the day before JFK was shot and killed in Dallas. And that will do it for today's show. The Houston Matters team includes Michael Haggerty, Joshua Zinn, Brenda Valdivia, Mincho Jacob, and Laura Walker. Jared Carroll's our technical director. On Monday's show, Michael will sit in for me, and he will discuss some consumer tech trends and gift ideas for the holiday season with Houston Chronicle columnist Dwight Silverman. I'm Craig Cohen. Have a great weekend, then join Michael on Monday for that and other Houston Matters. Hi, I'm Craig Cohen from Houston Matters.